Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session. In this paper, we propose the heterogeneity hypothesis. We aim at finding layer-wise differentiated network architectures. This work is jointly done by Yawei Li, Wen Li, Martin Danilian, Kai Zhang, Shuhan Gu, Luquan Gu, and Radu Timofte. So here is the table of contents. First, we are going to introduce the purpose of the paper. And next, we are going to answer the three questions proposed in the paper. And finally, we conclude the paper. So in this paper, we aim at cost-free fine-grained architecture optimization method. Since the advent of deep learning era, neural architecture design had been very important. There had been manually designed network architectures such as VGG, VNet, and ResNet. And of course, another research direction is neural architecture search, such as NASNet and PNASNet. In this paper, we focus on a design space that is usually overlooked by previous methods. We aim at adjust the number of channels of the layers of predefined networking. And we assume that this kind of layer-wise adjustment can lead to redistribution of the computational budget of networking and also improve the performance of the network. Actually, we have several hints from previous works. The first one comes from lottery ticket hypothesis, which states that in a predefined network, there is a sub-network that can outperform the original network under a similar number of iterations. And indeed, in this figure, we can show that the pruned network can outperform the original network. And the second hint comes from channel pruning. So in the figure, we have the mobile net with different width multipliers. And under each width multiplier, it is possible to find and improve the network architecture that can outperform the baseline. And our work is highly inspired by this observation. We studied the generalization ability of this observation to a large variety of network architectures, datasets, and also other vision tasks. So although we are inspired by the previous works, we still need to discuss the limitation of those works. First of all, the lottery ticket hypothesis is only valid under the setting of weight removal. Extension to architecture optimization in terms of channel reconfiguration is not studied. Secondly, the optimized network architectures are derived under different training epochs, which usually means much longer training epochs. So under the setting, it is questionable where the final improvement comes from. And secondly, the previous methods are derived for smaller dataset, and we want to investigate larger datasets such as ImageNet. And here we formally introduce the heterogeneity hypothesis. That is, with the same training protocol, there exists a layer-wise differentiated network architecture that can outperform the original network with regular channel configurations, but a lower level of model complexity. And we want to emphasize 3 points. The first one is the same training protocol. This forms a basis for fair comparison between the baseline and the optimized architecture. And secondly, by LWDA model, we mean that we only need to adjust the number of channels. And thirdly, the optimized architecture comes with a lower level of model complexity in terms of number of parameters and also computation. And we try to validate the hypothesis by empirical studies. In the figure, we show the identified LWDA model for ResNet 50 and RegNet. And in the table, it is clear that the LWDA model can really outperform the baseline. And next, the methodology. So the question is how to efficiently identify LWDA models. Basically, we can start from a baseline architecture, and we want a cost-free optimization method. Keep in mind that the cost-free optimization forms a basis for a fair comparison between the baseline and the optimized architecture. And we solve this problem with single-shot network shrinkage method. That is, we first initialize a network, and then prune it, and then lastly train the network from scratch. But there are two problems of this method. First one, it is unable to grow a layer, and secondly, it is only valid for unstructured pruning. So next, we are going to deal with problems. So in the figure, we show the configuration vector of a predefined network. So we can start from the vector C here. And our aim is to search within the neighborhood of the configuration vector. If a single-shot pruning method is used, then the search space is only confined to a subspace of the neighborhood. So it is only possible to reduce the number of channels. But keeping in mind that we also want to increase channels. So to solve this problem, we simply expand the width of the network by an upscaling factor. And in this way, we can extend the feasible solution space to a larger one. And we also constrain the minimum of number of channels by a factor rho. So this avoids over shrinkage of a specific layer of the network. And after all of the multiplication, we can start from the expanded vector delta C, and with a single-shot shrinkage method, we can derive the optimized architecture C prime. And next, we try to generalize the single-shot pruning method to from weight removal to channel pruning. So to solve this problem, we use the reparameterization metric trick. Imagine that we have a backbone network. So to reparameterize the network, we attach latent vector to the layers of the network. And with a hypernetwork, it can take the latent vectors as input, and the output of the hypernetwork is just the weight parameter that is going to be used by the backbone network. And here we show the computation procedure within the hypernetwork, and we want to emphasize one point, which is that pruning a single element of the latent vectors can result in pruned channel of the network. And here we show the pipeline of the proposed method. First of all, we widen the baseline network, and we reparameterize it with hypernetworks. After that, we conduct a single-shot shrinkage method. And in this stage, we compute the gradient with one random batch. And this approach ensures a cost-free optimization. And after that, we greatly shrinkage the network with respect to the gradients. And finally, the identified LWDA models are trained from scratch with the same training protocol at the baseline. And then we try to explain the benefit of the LWDM models. So the first solution is that CNN are very redundant. So it is possible to find layer-wise specific channel configuration comparable with the baseline with lower model complexity. And secondly, the redistribution of the computation budget can help to improve the performance. And the third possible reason is that maybe this is related to overfitting. And we have several evidence. The first evidence is a training and test log. So in this log, we can observe that the training error of the LWDM models is higher than the baseline, but the test error is lower than the baseline. So this is an evidence for overfitting. And secondly, on the same dataset, it is easier to identify an LWDM model for larger networks than for smaller networks. And thirdly, the accuracy gain of LWDM models is larger for smaller datasets compared with larger datasets. And as we all know, smaller datasets are easy to be overfitted. And we also try to investigate the generalization ability of the LWDM models to other vision tasks. So as shown in this in the table and figure of this slide, for visual tracking, LWDM models can outperform the baseline. And this is also true for single image super resolution. And finally, the conclusion. We empirically validate the heterogeneity hypothesis proposed in this paper. So it is possible to identify an LWDM model. This could be used as a post-searching mechanism complementary to semi or fully automated neural architecture search. Secondly, an almost cost-free fine-grained architecture optimization method is proposed. This method only needs the computation of one random batch. And thirdly, the possible reason for the improved performance of LWDM models is explained by observing the experimental results.